What up, crypto world, cryptoverse? It's Brianna and Scott with Crypto Talk with Brianna and Scott. How you doing today, Brianna?
I'm great, Scott. Yeah, it's been a great week. Really great week. I'm excited about today's show. We have a guest today who
We
I'm sure,
do.
going to announce here, and I'm really excited about that. It's going to be a fun one today. How are you?
Good, good. It's been a good week and lots of interesting stuff about crypto. The merge is finally over and we're getting to kind of settle into that, which is good. And, nothing crashed still, as far as I know. Ethereum is still going good. Uh, Price could be a little higher, but, it'll get there. It'll get there. So yeah, we were just talking. It's like these hours go so quick, and then when we have guests on, it goes even quicker. So it's going to be a lot of fun today. So why don't you go ahead and announce our guest because I'll bring him on here. You had met our guest early in the same program that we're in, right?
Yes, I did. We have our guest, Pavel Kopelev. Am I saying your last name correct? I finally got your first name, but I don't know if I have your last name correct.
That's right. You got it right.
And we are all on different points of the map. So Pavel is up in Toronto, Canada. And then Scott is back home, well, hometown visit
Hometown.
in
Yep.
Montana. And I'm in Idaho. So yeah, we're all in different parts on the map, but we were all brought together kind of through the London Real Academy, but all at different times. So yeah, thanks for coming, Pavel.
Absolutely excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So Pavel, tell us about your crypto journey. How long have you been in crypto? How did you get involved? And what's sort of your crypto story?
Well, I wish I could say that, I bought Bitcoin early in 2010, 11, but unfortunately that's not the case. Everybody has their time when they get into the crypto world. So I got in on February of 2021, and actually one of my coworkers that works beside us, he ended up investing in some crypto. It was actually the Celsius token, funny enough.
Yeah.
And then he told me that he made a bunch of money because it just skyrocketed. So I got a little bit intrigued and I opened up my account right in front of him. It was really, really quick. And off I went. I was in stocks before crypto. So I
Okay.
had a little bit of experience with investments and kind of reading charts, a little bit of technical analysis on the side. But I feel like the experience was still lagging. And at the time that I got in, which was February 2021, Bitcoin was actually almost peaking at the time. So it wasn't the best time, but I did call it dollar cost average in, because back then it kind of dipped a bit, maybe 30%. So I ended up doing okay in the end. But I decided to join Kings for a reason, because I wanted to progress my knowledge with crypto. And what better way to have a good community around you and have a good teacher that backs you up and supports you on that. So journey's been a little bit short. Like I said, I wish I could say that I've been in longer. I would definitely have more knowledge by this time, but everything comes to you at certain points in time, and you just have to accept it.
Yeah, no, it's so true, and really, sometimes, I mean, I've been amazed at what, you can really learn how fast. I've really been only deep into it for about a year. I kind of started getting into it in 2020, but really 2021 and 22 was and actually mostly in 22, when I just started diving deep. Before you joined Kings, how did you learn about crypto? Did you watch YouTube videos? What was your primary way to understand and learn about crypto before Kings?
So YouTube was obviously a big part of that, but YouTube, it's very unreliable. You have to, if you're serious about something, serious about investments, which I was, you have to step it up a notch, and you have to find the right community, the right teacher for that, because YouTube is a hit and miss. There
Yeah.
are alternative reasons for YouTube, and that's kind of clickbait, in my opinion. So, not all the information that you find on YouTube is going to be valuable to you or the best of interest to myself or anybody else. So, I'm sure you can find somebody and some sort of information that is decent enough for to help you out, but you can't go by listening to BitBoy Crypto every day, right? There's no way that you can learn from that. Um, that's more of an entertainment.
Yeah.
It's something that you just listen somewhere in the back while you're doing work, right? But to really step it up, you have to push yourself. You got to get out of your comfort zone. And being with Kings, it was exactly that, because you have time limits. You have to do certain coursework. You have to watch these certain videos, and you really push yourself, just like in school, right? And that's what it's all about. That's how you learn, is you push yourself, not have a side hobby.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Brianna and I have talked multiple times about Kings and really, the community. And so you had said that, from your group, you guys carried on kind of a smaller little group, and you guys meet on Zoom still, even though you're sort of out of the main program, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm so grateful for that, because um, what is it? Must be like a year now or so. We still keep in touch, and that is so valuable. That is one of the most things that I value the most, is having the people that you can connect with. And again, these people are all over the world. We have people from the UK. A lot of people are in the US. We have some people in Canada right by me as well. So it's so valuable to have that connection, and just keeping each other informed of what's going on in the crypto world. And we have our different strong points. There's people that are better at charts. There's people that have more inside information from Wall Street about what's going on, and so everybody has some strong points, and I hope I bring something to the table as well. But it's so important to have a good community and people that you can rely on and get together and just chat.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. Brianna, do you have any other questions for Pavel, or should we hop into the news?
Yeah, we can get into it. I mean, I just want to, I guess, reiterate what Pavel just said. It's so meaningful to have a community and really get a structured course. I know I spent time myself scattered around on YouTube, and just trying to find any sort of solid foundation of information is so difficult that way. The courses are really the way to go, I think, to really get the broad understanding, and then you can kind of build from there. At least that was my experience. But the community is everything, and you guys with the Pavel and your guys' group, like you said, with everybody comes in with their own strengths, and it just kind of builds. You build this little family, and it's so fun. It's so interesting to kind of meet together, and you just have that bond and relationship. It's so cool. You guys though are something else. Like I told you guys one time, I'm like, start a channel or just go live because it's so fun. But anyways, yeah, let's get to it. Who
All
wants to
right.
go first today?
Oh, you got to go. It's traditional.
Okay. Okay.
All
I'll
right.
go
So
first.
let me
I'll go
let
first.
me pull up your screen. There we go. All right. There you go. You are ready.
Okay, here I go. And I thought this one, I know I mentioned to you earlier, Pavel, that we do not share our articles. Scott and I don't, so we never know who's going to have the same article. It happens more often than we think. But I thought this one might be one that Scott has, but I guess we'll find out. So this one is on, are you guys able to see my article?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So this is a little bit old. It's all the way back to September 15th. So about a week ago. But this was back right when the merge happened. And what happened was somebody minted an NFT on Ethereum's last proof of work block, thanks to an NFT project called Vanity Blocks. So anybody can now own the final piece of Ethereum's history as a proof of work blockchain. So I thought this was really cool. I'm going to try to hide the NFT until the end and we can have our final reveal because I think it's pretty cool. And a little note here, a blockchain maintains a decentralized record of transactions. So Ethereum's final proof of work block was turned into art this morning. According to Etherscan, the closing chapter in the network's proof of work ledger comprises just one transaction, a Vanity Block NFT. And the NFT's creators paid 30 Ethereum, roughly $50,000 to mint the NFT in the early hours of Thursday after raising funds from investors. The price is Ethereum's block gas limit or maximum block size, meaning no other transactions can fit in the block, which is this long number here. The last proof of work block NFT is being auctioned now on OpenSea, where it has already attracted a bid of 10 ETH or $16,000 at today's price. This was a week ago. And here is that final NFT on Ethereum's blockchain.
I'm gonna move you over here. Ooh, cat eyes. Wait, what's the deal? There must be some hidden message behind that.
You know what? There's a lot at first. Like I actually kind of looked at this for a little bit. There's a lot in those eyes. And there was also a message with that says, you make the commitment and nature will respond to that commitment by removing impossible obstacles. Dream the impossible dream and the world will not grind you under. It will lift you up. This is the trick.
Oh,
So
I feel
cool.
like that's right up your alley, right? That's like you're like, ooh, this is speaking to me, right?
It is. Yeah, it is. I wouldn't mind
So
owning that NFT.
yeah, I think you should bid on it. You got what was it 15,000?
It's a
How
little too good for my blood. It was up to 16,000, and I don't know. Who knows? Maybe that was a week ago, so a lot happens in a week. So maybe it's been bid on more higher than that, or maybe it's been sold. Hard to say. I should have followed up on that today, but I didn't think
so
about it.
I have a question about that. So I saw this that article and I didn't read it closely enough because it sounded from what you're saying or what you're reading in there that this was really planned, that they planned and somehow finagled their way or something by something about the max block size to be the very last uh, block that would have been done on the proof of work chain. Um, I didn't realize that. When I first read it, I'm just like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Somebody, it's kind of. I was thinking the strangest thing. I was thinking, how babies are born on like New Year's Day or whatever. I was just like, kind of happens, just by chance, and I was like, oh, that's kind of nice. But it sounds like so. It was $50,000 to mint it, and my first thought when you said that was, oh my gosh, does it normally cost that much to mint an NFT? Does anybody know? I don't think it does, right?
No, no.
No. So I mean, they did something special to like capture that whole block or something, and that's why it costs so much.
That's what it sounds like. And what comes to my mind is I still don't understand where these blocks are or what they consist of. So that part to me is totally foreign, but it's
Okay,
all
so
very.
you remember Legos? Don't your kids play with Legos?
But where is it?
It's just a Lego in the sky. Come on, Brianna. What do you
But
think,
yeah,
Pavel? Do you know that much about the NFT process and how they might have been able to capture the very last block intentionally?
Uh, I can't say for sure. I mean, I think that there's a lot that goes into it, especially this move from the proof of work to the proof of stake.
Yeah,
Something must have triggered for it to cost so much, because usually it doesn't cost that much in gas fees.
yeah,
Um, I couldn't really say. You'd have to really take a deep dive and
yeah.
figure out what happened there. But there are NFTs that are worth just hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. So maybe
Oh yeah.
50,000 is a small price to pay.
Good point. Good point. Yeah. So while we're on the topic a little bit, what do you think, Pavel, of the whole Ethereum merge? You a fan, or what do you think it's going to be a big deal, or what?
Interesting question. I mean, I think it's overall it is a good idea, because we have Bitcoin, which is the king of crypto basically, right? And that works off of
Hmm.
proof of work. If we have the queen per se of Ethereum that's on the proof of stake, I think it's interesting to compare these two in the future of where they end up and how efficient are they. It's somewhat similar to, for me, gold and something that we use today, like say fiat money. I mean, they both have their kind of pros and cons to each
Hmm.
other, right? And I feel like Bitcoin and Ethereum could be the same in comparison sometime in the future. So I think I'm for just to have something different. But again, you would really have to take a deep dive. You'd almost have to be like a professor to really understand kind of the back end of how these things work, and whether it's more centralized now or whether it's a little bit less secure. You know.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I think there really are a lot of details and just that back end stuff that most of us don't really know. But I'll tell you what I thought was interesting was there was a lot of news leading up certainly to the merge, and there were some interesting articles that I found that really dug into the depths of it. Um, a couple of things that I thought were really interesting. Of course, I think one of the biggest things that everybody talked about was the fact that it was going to reduce the carbon footprint, or certainly be more green, because it didn't use as much energy. In fact, 99.5% less energy than the proof of work or what they were doing before. And so that was significant. Everybody talked about that. One of the things that people didn't talk about a lot that I think is interesting was that during the proof of work, you had the rewards for the miners, just like in Bitcoin, for mining. Their rewards were ETH, and so there was, I think it was like 18,000 ETH that were generated every day from this whole mining process. So when ETH started, unlike Bitcoin, where there's this cap of 21 million Bitcoin, ETH didn't have that, and so there was concern about it being inflationary, and so this, yeah, and 18,000 ETH being generated all the time. That if you owned ETH, it was constantly being diluted because you were always getting more ETH out there, more ETH out there, and so your whatever you were holding was diluted. That all goes away. Now it didn't go away completely because there's still some ETH in the proof of stake that will be generated, but it's like massively reduced. So ETH now is a much more non-inflationary asset like Bitcoin, um, in a way. And so I thought that was just interesting because again, if you especially if you held a lot of ETH, it's sort of now more valuable than it used to be because it wasn't being as diluted as much. Um, so there was that, and of course, eventually, right now it doesn't. The big thing with ETH with Ethereum is the gas fees are high, and the transaction speed is low or slow, right? Slower. Um, and of course, this merge didn't, you know, fix that, but this had to happen before we could get to that. So I think sharding is the next big Ethereum move that will then allow you to scale, transaction speed, and cost, go really down. But I'll just throw this out there, and either one of you can comment on this if you want. I just find it so interesting because with the success of the layer twos like Polygon and Optimism, that basically took away that issue of the transaction fee and the fees and the transaction speeds because it was on top of Ethereum. It used Ethereum as the base security, but all the speed of transactions and happened at this layer two. So I've started to use a lot more because when I'm investing in different DeFi protocols, if there's the option to use Polygon or Optimism, I've been using that, and it's a lot different. The fees are so much lower for gas fees, and every time you do a DeFi transaction, there's some gas fees. So it makes such a difference. They're already out there proliferating, so it's just kind of interesting. Now Ethereum will get there at some point, but maybe it's not going to matter from these layer twos. You guys have any comments on that?
It's a good point. I didn't think about the layer twos with this merge. I think only time will tell on where things go, but I think it's still worth to keep to have some ETH, maybe even dollar cost average in this bear market, because I do think it's quite a big project that will stay around. We just don't know where it's going to go in the future, but yeah, time will tell.
Yeah, it's interesting. What you'll see, it's interesting, and I don't know if your viewpoint, and if the people that you talk about as investors, I came into crypto thinking, oh, this is just an investment, but I quickly really caught the red pill about the whole cryptoverse and really got interested in DeFi. So it's interesting because I rarely ever talk about the investment opportunity, like you should hold, ETH or Bitcoin for this, for the, I do, and I do dollar cost average in because I just think that does make sense. And what that allows me to do is almost forget about investing as a trader or an investor, because I just know I'm going to dollar cost average. I know they're both solid assets that in the future will be around, and I think will certainly gain. In fact, I'm kind of thinking Ethereum might overtake Bitcoin, which is fine. I think they'll both be there. So it allows me to really focus on the metaverse, NFTs, and DeFi. And so for me, it's like my first thought goes to, with the merge, my first thought goes to, yeah, I'm interested in, how is it going to affect, transaction fees? Because that's a big thing in DeFi and something I deal with on a daily basis. It's like, just trying to put in liquidity pool, I've got to, incur fees both ways. And the more complex, like I've actually started doing yield farming now. And the more complex your transactions are, and if it has to hit 2 or 3 different chains and maybe go through a bridge and stuff, if you're on Ethereum, there could be 15 different separate transactions that you got to pay gas for on all 15 of those, which is kind of crazy. And it can really add up. So yeah, it's funny because I'm always thinking about, how anything that's happening in the cryptoverse is going to affect the usage of it, and not so much as the investment. So it's good to have other people on here that are, thinking in terms of investment, because I think most people out there are a lot of people for sure, that's all they know about crypto is it's an investment opportunity. I personally think it's way, way more than that, but yeah, that's interesting. Sorry, Brianna, for hacking into your article there, but you're kind of used to it now, aren't you?
No, I appreciate it because it brings in all angles. And one thing that, like you said, that's been so emphasized is the energy efficiency right at this time. I mean, the merge has been meant to happen. They've been talking about the merge for quite some time,
Right.
And it really happened at the best time possible for everything that's happening with politics coming in and regulations coming into crypto.
Yeah.
And this whole urge for energy consumption and limits and all of that. So it really, I think, was a good move either way. I think that we started to kind of wake up to whether or not Bitcoin uses as much as we thought it did. But there's still, if we can do better with Ethereum, I think that's a wise move no matter what, just to get around or, just to be able to have that build up on that side when there's a lot of emphasis on cryptocurrencies and energy usage right now with our regulations and laws. And that's going to be kind of part of my next my next article. So I'm sorry, guys. I have to get political on you guys today. I
She's doing it.
try,
She's going there. All
I'm
right.
doing it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's the
I
cat eyes.
try I try to limit it, but it's really important to know to
Go for
keep
it.
in the of what's
You
going
go
on.
for it.
Okay, this is a pretty new article. I think this was out yesterday. So White House releases White House releases Bitcoin crypto regulatory framework. Interesting to see Bitcoin now in red, white, and blue. I think that's a first that I.
Right. Isn't that interesting? Wow, look at that.
Okay, so following US, I guess this was September 16th. Following US President Biden's executive order, the White House published a framework for CBDC development and strict regulation of the ecosystem. So this article kind of goes over what's happening when it comes to CBDCs and crypto regulations and what the White House, where they are at or what they're saying they're at on it right now. So the White House has published a legal framework for engaging with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in the US following a whole of government executive order from President Joe Biden earlier this year. The Ensuring Responsible Development of Digital Assets, EO, called on government agencies to produce varying forms of research regarding consumer privacy and protection, energy usage, and central bank digital currency benefits and risks. In accordance with the research provided, the White House intends to empower the Securities and Exchange Commission, so the SEC, and the Commodities Futures Trading Commission to aggressively pursue investigations in the digital asset space. Additionally, Biden's administration will push the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and the Federal Trade Commission to redouble their effort to monitor the ecosystem as it relates to unfair, deceptive, or abusive practices. However, it is unclear what enables the determination of whether or not these agencies will begin monitoring for the aforementioned malicious behavior. Continuing on, the framework also calls on agencies to begin accepting instant payment systems such as FedNow and the consideration of regulating non-bank crypto or non-bank payment providers. Furthermore, the National Science Foundation will research technical and socio-technical disciplines and behavioral economics in order to understand digital asset ecosystems. Sorry, guys, a little bit wordy, but I feel like these are important statements. Following a recent report from the White House, OSTP, the Department of Energy, and the EPA are being tasked with tracking digital assets' environmental impacts, developing performance standards as appropriate, and providing local authorities with the tools, resources, and expertise to mitigate environmental harms. In addition, the Bank Secrecy Act will be amended to apply to digital assets, leading to larger fines for unlicensed money transfers and stricter enforcement against digital asset service providers. Also, the U.S. Treasury Department will complete a risk assessment as it relates to DeFi. Finally, Biden's administration has developed policies for a U.S. CBDC system, which will detail the government's priorities as it relates to the release of a digital dollar. However, the release states that further research is needed. Agencies that were chosen to lead the ongoing working group for the research and possible development of a CBDC include the Federal Reserve, the National Economic Council, the National Security Council, the Office of Science and Technology Policy, and the Treasury Department. So we have a lot of departments and researches and foundations going on in this article. And so, yeah, that's a lot right there. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Wow, that's a lot. that was a lot of stuff. You guys go first because my mind is kind of like, oh wow. I don't know what to think about that.
Well, I think it's been in talks for a while of governments using CBDCs, and this has been in plans for even longer than it's been talked about over the media. So with this article saying that, digital currency is coming, CBDCs are coming. I think this has been in the works for quite a long time, maybe a decade, if not more, where they are planning this. And that's kind of coming um, similarities with my article that I wanted to share as well, in terms of kind of politics with digital currencies. So I don't know if
Yeah.
is it, should I share it now?
Yeah, let's just jump in there. Is that okay, Brianna?
Yep, that's just fine with me.
Yeah,
So I
I
don't
will
have
just.
a screen share. I just have some notes. But
Yeah, go
the
ahead.
biggest article that came out today was the Russian officials approve use of crypto for cross-border payments. Now, I think the biggest word in there is approve. It doesn't necessarily mean that's what they are doing. I think the headline is kind of capturing maybe the viewers, the readers there, assuming that that is exactly what they're going to be using. But that's the key word in there is they approve. So they're looking into it, and they've been looking into this for a while, just like all the countries are kind of starting to look into it. And in fact, some countries are already using CBDCs where they develop themselves, kind of their own government digital currency. But what I really wanted to talk about is XRP. If you guys are familiar with the BRICS nations, and that's Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and there are some newer countries that are joining the BRICS nations. But the BRICS nations, they want to focus to restructure the international monetary system, and they want to abandon the US dollar and into a basket of digital currencies backed by commodities. So there's quite a few words there, but what they're trying to do is they're kind of battling the US dollar right now, right? The US dollar, currently the reserve currency of the world, um, they want to do something a little bit different to combat that. The world is changing. I think everybody feels that there's a shift with the economy, with these kind of regulations that are coming up, and it's no surprise that BRICS nations are here to try to kind of stir the pot as well with that. So what the BRICS nations want to do is they want to go back to the gold standard, and and because of the emerging technology, they want to digitize the economy. And this is actually spoken in Davos and the World Summit of 2022, and it's open. All you have to do is just start looking into this information, and it's all out there on the web. I mean, it's not going to be on CNN, but the information is there for everybody to start looking into, right?
Yeah.
So in 2018, the Central Bank of Russia conducted the possibility of using cross-border settlement using Ripple platform, i.e., XRP. And there's no better time for them to start using cryptocurrencies than now, with all the sanctions, with the war going on, and if they're not able to use the SWIFT system, they still need to conduct their business and cross-border payments. And I think the best thing for them to do is to use cryptocurrencies. That's why this article comes out and it says that they approve the use of cryptocurrencies. But what better way to use it than XRP? There's a lot of benefits to using XRP versus some of the other coins out there. So, as I was saying, this has been in plans for much longer than what we normally expect. This doesn't just happen in a day where they just get together and say, "Hey, how about we do this?" This has planned and researched and developed, and I'm talking about maybe 10 years, if not longer. Ripple, they're actually listed as a partner on the WEF website. And if you guys are familiar with that, they're the ones pushing this climate change agenda, along with a few other agendas, kind of on a global scale. So, you have to kind of take that into consideration. Why is Ripple listed as a partner on that? And with this current lawsuit that's happening, it's about 2 years now into this lawsuit where the SEC is trying to sue Ripple Labs for saying that XRP is a security. Um, I feel like it's a little bit misleading in my opinion. Now you would have to really get into the details, know exactly what's going on. But I think there's more behind the scenes than what the media will show. Um, One of the reasons is why it's taking too long. Perhaps it's not all about the lawsuit. Perhaps they're doing some sort of developing behind the scenes using XRP, because again, nothing happens in a day. They have to plan this out. They have to test, develop more, go back, develop more. So perhaps this is kind of what they're doing, because with this lawsuit, it really put a kind of a limit on the XRP market, where it was banned on so many exchanges where you can't really buy it. I mean, you can, but not on Coinbase, not on some of the other platforms. So it's a little bit of controversial. And I guess what I'm trying to get at is it's kind of in my favor. I like that kind of controversy because I feel like Ripple has a good chance of coming out on top. And if it does replace the Swift system sometime in the near future, within the next 5-10 years, I feel like it has a lot of potential to gain a lot of momentum. And if somebody starts DCAing in it now, in a bear market especially, then they will really make some tremendous gains. Now, they want to, so as I was saying, they want to digitize the economy. So they want to back it up to a 1-to-1 ratio of gold. Now, nothing is for certain. This is, again, it's a big piece of uh, it's a big picture, and it's one piece of puzzle at a time to try to get together. So nothing is for sure, but this is kind of the talks of different sources coming together. If they do back it up to 1-to-1 ratio of gold to create international monetary level field of trade. As we know, gold has always been around for the last 1,000 years. It is an even level playing field for all countries to use. Whereas a dollar, you know, someone may like the dollar. Personally, I don't. It's fake money. There's no value to it because they took it off the gold standard in what, 1974, I think. So going back to the gold standard, I feel like it's much better. And on um, using the gold standard, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, they've all been stacking gold for the last decade. They've been buying heavy. Perhaps they knew that there's going to come a time where this is going to happen, right? So they're just kind of having one step in, and it's difficult to kind of determine if this information is for sure. It's all, again, it's all talks, and with today's propaganda on the media, it's really difficult to assess what's real, what's not. It's kind of like a war on information today, so you really have to take everything with a grain of salt and let time kind of uh, rule what the events will show, right? But just for fun, if XRP does go to a 1-to-1 ratio with gold, um, XRP max supply is 100 billion. The physical gold market cap, and I'm not talking paper, I'm talking the physical gold, is about 11 trillion, plus minus 20%, depending on which source you ask. So that would make a single XRP token worth $110 to bring it to a $11 trillion market cap. Now, of course, that would be 29 times larger than Bitcoin at this point. The current price is 52 cents. That would be a 25,000% increase. So I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. It's interesting to see if that would happen. That would be a big kicker. But again, this is much further down the road, 5 to 10 years. But if you're in crypto, I feel like that is what you should be aiming for. The real gains is what's coming in the future, not tomorrow, not in a year. 5 to 10 years down the road is that's you know whether you're an investor or perhaps you're going to be using the Bitcoin to pay for your mortgage and pay for your house. Who knows, right? But the possibilities are endless.
Yeah. Wow. Good stuff. Lots of stuff there. I've got a million questions. I probably forgot half of them. Um, okay. So okay. So XRP. So I hold some XRP. Does that surprise you, Brianna?
You know, I don't, XRP has flown completely out of my radar. It's just never been one until now. I mean, I've heard of it. I know it's a big one, but it's just never been one I've been drawn to. So I've never think into it at all until now.
Yeah, it was one of the early. It's interesting. I hear this all the time from people. I was the same way. You hear about this crypto thing before you know what it is, and usually you hear it from somebody that got into it and made a lot of money. They got into it early, right? All hear the stories about the millionaires, and then people that are kind of into it, they get into it and they start investing in different coins, and you hear like, oh yeah, you should invest in some XRP and invest in some Avalanche and some Polygon and all these different things. And I was just never one to really kind of follow it that way. It's like, I need to research this or figure it out. Well, that was hard. It wasn't that easy to kind of research. Plus, I didn't understand the whole concept, crypto and coin investing and so on. But I did, like, one of my first, I was going to say influencer, not really an influencer, but, YouTuber, but also not like he had a system and a plan, had been around. Actually, you may know it was Blockchain Backer. And he was he was big into XRP, but he was really used Bitcoin, and he would break down the charts of what Bitcoin is doing. But his claim to fame, or what he really was talking about, was just altcoins and the altcoin season. And he was really big on this altcoin season, which he's basically said is that once Bitcoin starts to come down a little bit, no, it would come down and then it would retrace back up. And as it retraced back up, it would bring all the altcoins up with it, which now I know, yeah, that's pretty standard. But he would bet big on these altcoins, and XRP being one of them. So I kind of followed that. So I bought like Zcash and EOS and XRP and a couple other ones. Again, before I knew anything about this, I don't think I've told you this story, Brianna, because it's interesting because I like really small levels, like 20. I probably had like $200 max, in all those different coins. So just really babyish. But soon after, it's interesting because I got really in, the whole point about XRP and about, your view, Pavel, about the 5 to 10 years. I really agree with that. But when I got hooked on DeFi, I was like, ooh, okay, that's interesting because, well, especially in a bear market, it's like, okay, you just, they say you need to build, right? But from an investor's standpoint, what do you do? And you can dollar cost average, which I think is a good idea. And that's what I am doing with at least Ethereum and Bitcoin. But I'm like, what if I could make, yield, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 70% yield now? And so that's when I really got into DeFi, and I'm still just learning, but so it is interesting because I think it's good to have both visions, long-term sort of coin investing from altcoins and Bitcoin, but then also this whole DeFi world, which is just amazing, and it's the fact that you can earn really good yield. Now it's a little dangerous sometimes, and it's very volatile, and you really have to kind of watch what you're doing. You can't just throw it in there. And, even stable coins, because I lost a little bit of money, on Terra or the USDT or UST. But kind of getting back to your thing, I think it was interesting that there's both views of that. But XRP, so back to this one-to-one backing of gold. So this is a question I have that it sounds like you really have a good handle on this kind of topic. So like a stable coin is backed by assets, and so we know USDC is primarily backed by dollars, and then some other securities that seems to be the most traceable asset-backed stable coin. And then you've got Tether, which is a little more questionable, but seems to be backed by assets. Why would XRP, or why would any other token that isn't considered a stable coin, need to be backed up by, let's say, gold or anything? And is that really the reason that more, because like Bitcoin's not backed up by anything, and we've got El Salvador, and they're using Bitcoin as their standard, or they're trying to currency. Why, if XRP, because it's a really, from what I understand, it's just a really fast transaction protocol. Can even outperform, I guess, Visa, which up till this point was, the standard as far as how many transactions per second or whatever. XRP is really good at that. But why would it need to be backed up by gold?
Well, I think gold, again, you have to tie in something that is of real value. And what better way to tie anything in than gold? Since gold has
Yeah,
been the gold standard in the past before it got banned, pretty much. It was like illegal to own gold. And I feel like even past, for the last 1,000 years, everything's been traded in gold. So why not try that again? And again, nothing is for sure. I take everything with a grain of salt. This is everything is still in the works, but gold is a good store of value, and I think everybody knows that. Well, at least I hope so, because if you say have $1,000 of cash, that cash is nothing. It's worth nothing. It's only worth as much as what the next person values it at. And in terms
I
of
agree.
Bitcoin, there's only 21 million ever, and the fact that using that blockchain technology, you are your own bank. So there's other benefits with Bitcoin, just like there's benefits with Ethereum. With XRP, there are a few benefits, and I would say even better than Bitcoin, but it doesn't necessarily make it better than Bitcoin. There's pros and cons to everything. Like with XRP, it's much more efficient. The transaction feeds are much faster. There's no mining. It's deflationary by nature. So using this digital currency backed by commodity of gold, I feel like that would be the best because that way, instead of saying trading of gold, here's my bar of gold for your rice, you could just say, well, here is some XRP for your rice, but this XRP is worth exactly the same as what this gold. So instead of shipping gold back and forth all the time, now you're on digital currency. Now it's all transactions on the computer.
Yeah.
So I feel like it would make more sense. It's much more efficient today. Because again, today what we're using cash, it's every all cash is inflationary because every central government has a money printer that they just print their way out of any problem,
Yeah.
and that makes it worse for kind of the poor and the middle class, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No. And I get that. That's interesting. I think what I was thinking, and I don't know that much real technical detail on it, but what I thought XRP would become is not actually a coin that would take over the dollar, but I kind of thought that XRP, the technology, would become like replace the SWIFT system. So my thought was, in the background, you've got this XRP system now that is using the transactions instead of the SWIFT system. I was thinking that it might go that route and not thinking, oh, it's going to actually become like a dollar, instead of transacting in a dollar, we're going to transact in an XRP token, let's say. And so maybe that will happen too. Maybe both will happen. I think, and I'm curious if you agree, where you could still have XRP or that the whatever transaction technology they have like replace the SWIFT system, like you said, right, and still have something else that is the denomination, like a fiat dollar or whether it be Bitcoin or whatever. That's still a possibility, right?
That's exactly what I'm thinking because again, there are countries right now. I know China's for sure one of them where they already have CBDCs. I think there's
Right.
another country in the Caribbean's. I want to say Bahamas that are either working on one or they already have a CBDC. So every country wants to have some sort of digital currency where that's what the people trade, right, to buy their goods and to do their
Mm-hmm.
retail. But in terms of international trade, I'm thinking the XRP blockchain or their system, they will be replacing the Swift system because that's what's kind of old and outdated. So
Right.
XRP, in my opinion, is only going to be used for international trade, where you're using, a lot of value for goods or services, but not necessarily it's going to replace $1 where you're going to go to McDonald's and buy, a hamburger for some
Right.
XRP.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's definitely possible, and that's why I hold XRP, and you're right. It hasn't really been in the news much. When I first, about a year ago, I was hearing a lot about the lawsuit, and I was really curious because I had some XRP, and I do think that it's probably a really good long term play. I haven't heard of any other token protocol or anything that seems to be in a better place to take over maybe that backbone or a part of the backbone um, in transaction fees. So yeah, that's interesting. Well, cool. Yeah, that was great information. You have any questions, Brianna? I mean, we had heard CBDCs, right, from our friend Brandon, who is also in the Kings Club, and so in fact, I really didn't understand the BRICS system or the BRICS countries until Brandon's presentation just yesterday, right? So that's interesting. That I'm getting a lot of good information from my fellow Kings on, a lot of this international stuff that it's just hard to keep track of.
It is, and that's where I'm trying to figure out where all the pieces fit in. I guess just like everybody else is trying to do, based on I don't know all sorts of information. But I know with XRP as well, we have, the Fed now. So kind of coming back to my article that led into what Pavel said about XRP, there was a lot of statements made about the Fed Now program, which is supposed to be rolling out, I know implemented in July, for sure. In July is kind of the start date of 2023. And that's supposed to run off of potentially XRP. And so that gives us an indicator as how far XRP may go, if it's running on the Fed now. And I know that at least from information that I've collected, it sounds like what will happen at that time in July is it will be when the government is giving out stimuluses again. And it's going to be presented as a way to be able to get your stimulus quick and kind of be the groundwork. So it's going to be the groundwork for CBDCs. And
Wow, I didn't
the
think
more
about
and
that.
more that we learn,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
the more and more that we learn, it's we have major warnings on CBDCs. At least I'm really worried about them because what we're looking at is what we see in China, and we see how they have their credit system and zero privacy. And, we just see the freedoms being taken away. And so there's a lot of fear out there. And we also have the WEF coming in as well with their agenda, whether or not that will be successful or played out how they are hoping for. That's all to be seen, but it's definitely important, I think, to understand. And then just knowing, I guess the elephant in the room with all of these White House releases and these documents is that I think that what we want and what would be nice is if we had a fair playing field. And I know that that's always been kind of the dream, but being able to really see all of the information laid out. Where are we getting these statistics from and the research? Like, what are all of these committees and what are all of these associations, and where are they coming from and who are they funded by and how does that all fit in and to certain narratives and agendas? And so I think that, I don't know, as moving forward, really trying to, and that was actually in Brandon's presentation. So if CBDCs are inevitable, then really focusing on emphasizing and just the privacy, at least the privacy and security and all of those things that come along with the freedom that's kind of at risk. And I think that hopefully people will wake up to this or just stay informed as it's going out. I know that I am just trying to stay informed as things are being released. But from an investor standpoint, yeah, XRP probably going to do really well. I don't know that I can invest in that just due to what's behind it or potentially behind it, but we'll see. But yeah, no, that was really good information, Pavel, and it went in accordance.
What do you mean behind it? Like the fact that
Well,
it's part of Fed
okay.
now, or what do you mean?
Yeah, I'm saying the Fed now. The Fed now, if it's going to be working under if the Fed now is just all about getting us our stimuluses and getting us quick, but not getting all our information under one roof, like some people are saying, but if it's out of deception and if it's out of, I don't know. I don't
Well,
know.
that does sound kind of insidious. The fact that they're going to dangle that carrot of you can only get your stimulus if you sign up for Fed Now, right? Because they're not going to push it on us, but it's going to be an option, and that's going to be, I guess I don't blame them. If they got an agenda just like everybody else, and that would certainly get a lot of people, into the system. And yeah, it certainly seems like it is the precursor to CBDC. I was thinking about that. It's like, you're probably right. It's like let's focus on what we think we can get, and let's make sure we have privacy. It'd be nice to have transparency, but it's a government. What are the chances of us getting a true transparency with any government? Probably not so good. So yeah, maybe we need to really just focus on the privacy issue, and hope we can get some transparency. But good luck on that one.
And keeping DeFi alive, right? When I saw DeFi in that, I was like, don't touch. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of asked, and I know we're kind of wrapping up on this subject. I want to see what you have, Scott. But I know that with, I kind of put myself into China sometimes because Bitcoin's been banned or tried to be banned in China. How many times? Like 18, I think. And it can't be banned. And so I'm trying not to. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I get a little worried about having too much going on with DeFi because I'm worried that it may get what may happen, but that hasn't come yet. And I don't know. I guess we'll just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah, yeah, and I am also, paying a close eye on that. I think for now, for sure, the government's really focused on stablecoins. I think that's ultimately where they're going to roll out some of their first regulation. Gensler and the Fed, and so there's a lot of talk. They're all kind of all over the place, and he's shooting from the hip, kind of, which is unfortunate. Grabbing people saying, "Oh, you shouldn't have done that," instead of logically saying, "Let's lay out a plan that we can all follow, and you can, before you start your project or whatever," instead of just shooting people down, with no guidelines. That's to me is frustrating. But yeah, I think the cool thing about DeFi is that that's okay to, in my opinion, to regulate stablecoins. I think that's a good thing to a certain extent. The other thing is that from an investor standpoint, you might be a little bit worried that some of the coins that you've invested in or the projects that you're heavily invested in, they might get regulated, and hopefully it won't take them out completely. They'll just have to conform to a few things. As an investor, my view is that the problem with regulation. Let's say that Gensler gets his way, which I'm not saying he will, and he's saying that everything other than Bitcoin is going to be, a security. That means that any new project that comes on board, right, is going to have to go through all of that regulation. Just like if you're a company and you want to go on the New York Stock Exchange, it's a long, expensive process to be able to be a stock, that's traded on these exchanges. And if that is going to be what's going to happen with cryptos, it will slow down development for sure, but it's not going to kill it off, just like businesses in the stock market. So it's kind of a new take that I have. It's like, regulation isn't all bad. Now the CBDC thing, still scares me, but even if all tokens and coins and altcoins and everything is now going to be considered a security, maybe that's a good thing. One of the things that I see in DeFi a lot, and it scares me a lot about DeFi, is the hacking and the fact that it's so easy to put up a project and put up code that people aren't putting up really good quality code. Their smart contracts have holes in them. Bridges, anytime a bridge is used today, I try never to use a bridge unless I absolutely have to, because they're just that's where most of the hacking is going on, a lot of it. And so for me, right, I don't think crypto as a whole, and even DeFi, can take off unless they get this security thing figured out, this hacking thing. And there's just some articles in the news that talk about it a little bit now. That in fact, let me just roll into that, and you guys can shove it in the comments. But let me pull up an article on just that one, because I did find an article about that. Okay, here we go. Oh, gotta share my screen. I think that does it. Okay. Where'd that go? Okay. So this says a DeFi bug bounty platform, Immunify, raises $24 million in Series A. What this company does, Immunify plans to use the fresh funding to build a new version of its platform and to increase reward payouts for ethical hackers. I thought, ooh, that's kind of interesting, but I didn't really understand, what that meant. But moving on, it says that Immunify platform is offering bounty programs for ethical hackers, also known as white hats, where security researchers can review code, disclose vulnerabilities, and get rewarded for their efforts. According to the firm, it currently protects over 100 billion. So this Immunify program currently is protecting over 100 billion in user funds locked across multiple DeFi protocols and smart contracts, and with as many as 301 projects hosting their bug bounty programs on Immunify. And these include some well-known names such as Chainlink, MakerDAO, Compound, Synthetic, SushiSwap, PancakeSwap, Bancor, Cream Finance, Olympus DAO. This is good news. This is what else do we got here? But this is good news, I think, because it's the first, no, maybe not the first time, but I've really been concerned that I haven't seen a lot of serious attention paid to this hacking thing. And I know it's out there, and I know some people are definitely working on it, but this is a big thing for me. If I'm going to be in DeFi and I want to, have, a good majority of my savings, because it's the only place I can earn really good yield and not have to worry about the volatility of the altcoin market or even Bitcoin going up and down. If I know I'm going to get, 20, 30, 40, 50% in a DeFi smart contract, I want to make sure it doesn't get freaking hacked. And so Immunify has also facilitated the largest bug bounty payments in history. So this is interesting, including the 10 million of vulnerability discovered in Wormhole, a cross-chain communication protocol that fell victim to 320 million hack in February this year, and a 6 million for the vulnerability discovered in Aurora, a bridge and a scaling solution for Ethereum. Bridges are just breeding grounds for hacks. I don't know all the details, but it is something I'm going to kind of get into the weeds with a little bit and learn and maybe share here on my channel, because the fact that when you are using a bridge to go from one chain to the other chain, that bridge has to take custody of your funds. And that's the scary part, because you might trust the protocol that you're investing in or the liquidity, like Compound or Aave or something like that, because they have good code that's been audited, and it's you can tell because they've been around a long time and they haven't been hacked or that much. You've got these bridges that, again, aren't audited. They're not, it doesn't seem like they're putting a lot of the security in there. And so now the bridge takes custody of your coins and tokens when you're transferring them. And I don't know if they keep a copy of it, or your funds are only vulnerable while it's in the bridge, which really isn't that much time. But it seems like a lot of these hacks are in these bridges. And I'm really glad that a company like this is taking this seriously and doing something about it. And I think it's cool that they, white hackers. I mean, what's a better incentive than making a few bucks? To protect people. I'd much rather the hackers out there use their skills and their knowledge to do something on the good side than the bad side. So, anyways, yeah, that kind of worked out. I didn't plan to move into that, but that's sort of the answer about DeFi. And it doesn't really talk about regulation, but in my opinion, I'm much more afraid of hacking than I am regulation in DeFi. So
that's so true. That is really true. Do you do much in DeFi, Pavel?
Do I do what? Sorry.
Do you do much with DeFi, or where are you kind of at these days?
So I use my wallets, my DeFi wallets. I don't really do any transactions on Aave or Compound. Um, I mean, I don't really do much at all except DCA now that there's a bear market. So, it's
Yeah.
back before in Kings, we definitely did some transactions there, right, to earn some yield, which was fun, but definitely not today's day. I mean, I'm familiar with it, and there's always a risk. Crypto is still kind of the wild, wild west where there's very minimal regulation, but again, it's kind of pros and cons to that. And unfortunately, there are people in the world that want to take advantage of certain vulnerabilities, and it's hard to deal with that. I mean, look at Terra Luna, right? It was a big project that just went completely down. I lost my entire portfolio with Terra. Unfortunately, things happen like that, but it is a good idea to spread, not put your eggs all in one basket, right? So if
Yeah.
you are going to use something that's a little bit more vulnerable, perhaps go on the lower end. Not put all your funds in it, maybe a little bit by bit. So yeah, unfortunately, that it just happens today. Nor am I for complete regulation by the SEC or the government, because we all kind of know that they don't always have the best intentions either, and they just take full advantage of the situation. So I'm kind of, stuck in the middle here.
Well, I think we all are. And that is the interesting thing. It's if you buy into crypto as a whole and you come, you learn about Bitcoin and how it was created and how Satoshi created it, then you're all for decentralization and for not having large institutions control you. And I get that. I totally get that. But there is some sort of happy medium, and it's inevitable. As much as Satoshi's dream might have been, and there are some people that still fully believe in it. I'm more of a realist, and I think I doubt we'll ever get there. Maybe in some far off corner some way you can have some complete decentralized thing going on, but for the rest of us that are going to play in the world, I think there's going to be some combination of both. I love blockchain and crypto. And I think it's going to change the world. It's already changing the world. I'm a huge fan of it, and I'm all for all the principles of decentralization and transparency and everything that Bitcoin and the vision. But I think we're going to have to play together a little bit if we really want to move this thing forward. And I think it's important for people like us. And both of you guys had really good information today. Really good detailed information about important stuff that not everybody's thinking about. Brianna's article was really good about a lot of the details and regulation, and Pavel, your detail about XRP and stuff was great. And that's the kind of stuff that we need to do so that we're paying attention to that. So this stuff doesn't just fly by us, right? And when we need to stand up and take a stand, I think we should. So and part of that is shows like this and any other way that we can spread the news. So hopefully everybody that's watching this, got some benefit out of that and can see our passion. We are three people that came together in one platform because we wanted to go deeper into understanding crypto and to DeFi and this whole wonderful world. And we've each kind of gone our own on separate ways, but we all love the space and want to share it with everybody. And so please share this show if you're watching this on the replay or live. Share the show and come visit Brianna's channel, Purified People. Visit my channel, Crypto for the Rest of Us. And Pavlov, if you got anywhere, are you on Twitter or if anybody wants to know more information on XRP or anything?
No, unfortunately, I'm not too social. I guess you can reach me out on Facebook, but I would always say, keep up with the news. There's a lot going on today with politics and the economy, and you really have to stay on top of it because if you don't, you're going to kind of end up on the bottom. Have a good diversified basket of assets, commodities, have some precious metals, have some gold, have some cryptocurrencies, have some even cash on the side because today's day it's a little bit rough. It's rough waters for sure. So you want to be prepared for all scenarios.
It is. Okay, well, good. Well, let's close her down here. Thank you, Pavel, for joining. Yeah, great information, and this was a lot of fun. Brown and I always say that, we sit and talk back and forth on crypto for now, but it's always much more fun when we have a guest in there, right, Brianna?
Yeah, thanks for coming, Pavel. And my closing statement, since I didn't quite make one real quick, I just wanted to add on to Pavel. Having that really good, well-rounded information diet makes such a huge difference. And then just kind of going back to Scott with the DeFi, just even if it's a little bit, even if it's a tiny bit, feel how, well, this isn't investment advice either, but feel how good it feels to make those little clicks of a button in DeFi and be your own banker and just have that responsibility. I mean, and even with the hacks, everything that might be there, if it's just a little bit, just to feel how good it feels when it ends up where you want it to go. I encourage everybody to just give it a try. But yeah, thanks, Pavel, for coming. And that was a great show, you guys. And that was a lot of fun.
It was good closing. All right, guys. Well,
Thank you
this
for
is
having
all
me,
the time we
guys.
have. Hey, you're welcome, buddy. We enjoyed it. So until next time, guys, we'll see you on Crypto Talk with Brianna and Scott. See you later.